Every time we see her.
Called me the other day about
It's amazing.
pool
That's
construction or something.
Thank you.
I didn't endorse it.
It's good to see you. It's good to see everybody.
You don't live in the city, do you? He goes,
Well,
I live just outside
yeah.
the city. I said, so you think going to the county? I said,
What does that
"No,
mean?
I'm a city council.
Exactly.
How are you and Krista doing?
I suggest you call him."
Okay.
Yes, that's right.
And he did. Kenny, Kenny took care of it.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Appreciate all of you being here. I will call this meeting to order. This is the Thursday, May 6th, regularly scheduled meeting of the Asheboro City Council. Appreciate everyone being here. I will remind you that this meeting is streamed live on YouTube and Facebook. Is that right? YouTube? YouTube. So when you stand at the podium, just remember you're on camera. If you will, stand and join me in a moment of silent meditation, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. And I will preface this time by saying we're closing out the National Day of Prayer. We started this morning with an event at ABS celebrating the Mayor's Prayer Breakfast, and our 27th annual event in Asheboro turned out very well. It was COVID restricted. We did not have, we're not able to accommodate everybody we had hoped to accommodate or what we normally do accommodate, but we had a good crowd representing Asheboro, and we started the day with a good message about love, life, and liberty, and praying to our Lord for our country. So I would encourage you to keep those remarks in mind and join me in a moment of prayer, and we will follow that with a Pledge of Allegiance. Thank you. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. At this time, I would invite, we have two special guests here tonight. We have our Randolph County Department of Public Health Director, Susan Hayes, and Assistant Director, Tara Aker, here. I would like for y'all to come forward, please. A couple of years ago, the city developed an award to recognize extraordinary contributions to the community, and we call it the Asheboro Pride Award. We are honored tonight to have you here, and it's unfortunate that this coincides with a recent announcement of Susan's retirement. Susan Hayes has been Director of Public Health for 5.5 years, and I will tell you the last year has probably seemed like 15 or 20 years. I guess when you became director, you had no idea that you would end up to your eyeballs in the COVID alligator.
No, I sure didn't.
But you've done a wonderful job. Susan is finishing 34 years as a county health department employee, and she's done just about everything down there, but 5.5 years, the last 5.5 years as director. We are presenting this Asheboro Pride Award to the Randolph County Department of Public Health in total, partly to recognize, or in essence recognizing the tremendous job that they do for public safety and public health, or public safety, I should say, but more so the job you've done in the last year and a half. The COVID pandemic has just been so difficult for everyone. Nobody was untouched by the COVID, and your employees took the brunt of a lot of difficult situations, a lot of anxiety and anger. And I wanted to say thank you. We, the city, recognize the hard work that you do day in and day out without the COVID, but especially so during the COVID pandemic. So if you will, y'all come up here and we'll turn around, we'll have a picture taken. And Susan, I will present you the plaque, and you can certainly take this down and share it with your employees. And when is your last day?
May 28th.
May 28th. I'm disappointed, but I'm happy for you.
Thank you.
Disappointed for the county, but I'm happy for you to get to spend time with your grandbaby, 2-year-old grandbaby.
Two-year-old.
Yeah. And Terry, you've done a great job, and you, if you want that done, I hope that I wish you luck in getting it.
Thank you.
So,
Thank you.
I'm sorry. Okay.
Thank
Thank
you.
you for being here,
So much.
and thank you for a job well done for many, many years. And look
Appreciate
forward to
y'all.
working with you, continuing to work with you, Terry.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, here, you might want to put that back in the bag, and y'all certainly don't have to hang around. I know you've had many long nights at commissioners' meeting, many nights when you've been last on the agenda. So, you certainly may leave anytime you're inclined to do so. Thank you. This time I'll call on Mark Hensley, Executive Director of Randolph Senior Adults, and he's going to give us some update on the services provided during the COVID pandemic.
Mr. Mayor, members of the City Council, and senior city staff, it's always a pleasure to be with you, and especially on a beautiful evening like this, as we hopefully are drawing to a close of a pandemic. At least we'll keep our fingers crossed on that. For our folks at home, again, I'm Mark Hensley. I'm the Executive Director of Randolph Senior Adults. And just as a quick review, a reminder of kind of what we do, our participants are 50 years of age and older if they want to participate in activities, and at least 60 years of age if they want to participate in a meal program. 2021 makes our 46th year of serving Randolph County senior adults, so we started in 1975, and we still have 5 centers in Randolph County: Asheboro, Archdale, Liberty, Randleman, and Our Place Adult Daycare, which is also here in Asheboro as well. And we are a member agency of the United Way, both Randolph County and United Way of Greater High Point. So when COVID arrived in North Carolina, the first thing that we learned that senior adults would be the most at risk or vulnerable to the virus. So what do you do when your job and your mission is focused on serving those that are most at risk? With the governor's executive order and following guidance provided by our friends at the Randolph County Public Health Department, we closed all 5 of our centers and ceased all activities effective March 18th, 2020, coming up on 14 months. In order to reopen our centers, the governor and/or the health department will need to state that it's safe for senior adults to resume normal activities. So that's kind of the buzzwords we're waiting to hear at Randolph Senior Adults. We're still closed, but with the governor's comments recently about hoping to lift the majority of restrictions by June 1st, we're cautiously optimistic. And so our hope is that we'll be able to reopen all 5 of our centers sometime in the June-July timeframe. we'll see how that goes. But we're already working with Susan and Tara at the Health Department, presenting our reopening plan and getting their feedback on things that we need to change. So how do you provide basic services at a minimum during a pandemic? I've shared with several folks, I need to talk to John and Martha. I've looked in my office for a manual that says what to do during a pandemic, and I have yet to find one. So we've tried to be creative, and the first area that we knew would be critical is that clients would still need reliable transportation, namely RCATs. They would need transportation to doctor's appointments, shopping, employment, dialysis treatments. As a matter of fact, when COVID first hit and we were shutting down, I told our transportation director, if they require transportation to shut down, I'm hopeful that they'll at least allow us to transport dialysis patients, because that really is life or death in that service. Fortunately, we were not required to shut down. As a matter of fact, RCATS has not missed a single day of service during the pandemic. The way we do that is we've been able to socially distance by simply keeping our van loads to about 50%. Most of our vans are equipped with lifts so that individuals in a wheelchair or walker can access the van. Those vans hold 8 people, and so we simply run those with a maximum of 4 during the pandemic, and we're able to continue to provide service. Our drivers have had their temperatures checked every morning before they get in a van. They've been masked, gloved. We installed plexiglass barriers in all 28 of our RCATS vehicles and hand sanitizer. We've also provided masks to every RCATS rider to attempt to keep everyone as healthy as possible. Just to give you an idea of the volume of RCATS during the pandemic, we're running at about 45% currently of our pre-COVID volume. We normally, pre-COVID, we would run over 300 trips per day, 5 days a week, and we're at about 45% of that right now. Another area that we thought was really important that we provide basic service was our Medicare open enrollment, options counseling, and caregiver support. We typically handle these areas in person with individuals coming in to meet with our certified counselors that are part of our staff, but we moved it to telephone and computer access to be able to still provide resources. Things such as I'm ready to enroll in Medicare, or I am in a certain plan at Medicare, I'm not sure it's the right plan for me. All those things that we do annually, caregiver support, trying to support those individuals that are caring for a loved one 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. We provide great resources and assistance to those individuals as well. To brag on this group just a little bit, in North Carolina during 2020, Randolph Senior Adults Information and Options Counseling Team was ranked number 2 in the state in terms of senior health insurance information for the number of clients served. We served almost 2,000 clients last year in senior health insurance. We were number 12 in the state in terms of dollars saved for those clients, getting them out of the wrong program and into the right program, with almost $715,000 saved to those clients. And if you boil that down, if you look at the Piedmont Triad region, which is a 12-county region, our team finished first in both number of clients and dollars saved in that 12-county region. So very proud of their efforts. And you know how it is with telephone. Somebody calls you and they don't get you and they leave a message. And then you call them back and don't get them and you leave a message. But in spite of that, we've had a very strong year in supporting clients in that way. The third area, which is probably the most well-known of what we do and also the most concerning during a pandemic, is how do you provide a nutritious meal when your centers are closed? And so let me give you a little perspective on meals so you can understand what this last year has been like. Our fiscal year is July 1 through June 30, as most nonprofit organizations. In the fiscal year 2018-2019, we served 76,000 meals in Randolph County. Last fiscal year, 2019-2020, we served 97,000 meals. It was a 28% increase year over year. And while this was not a fiscal year, if you look at March 18th of 2020 to March 18th of 2021, we served almost 101,000 meals. So we established a new record for Randolph senior adults in terms of meal service by 4,000 meals during a pandemic. So what did you have to do? What did you have to change to be able to serve meals to an even larger number of clients? First of all, we typically serve a hot meal daily, Monday through Fridays, in two fashions. One is congregate meals, where people come into one of our 5 centers and eat a meal and participate in activities with our staff. The other is the more well-known, the Meals on Wheels, where a community volunteer comes in, picks up a warming bag with 8 to 12 meals in it, and runs a route and delivers those. So we couldn't do either one of those. We were trying to protect our clients and our volunteers from exposure by not putting them on the front porch of someone every day who is in the most vulnerable demographic. So instead of doing a daily hot meal, we switched with our catering partner, Golden Corral. This is the Golden Corral on Dixie Drive. All the food is prepared there. And they started preparing boxes of 10 meals frozen. And so now every other week we serve 10 frozen meals to all of our meal program clients. It's the same nutritious meal they would get hot normally, it's simply frozen. So they take a meal out of their fridge, warm it up that day, and eat their meal in that regard. We've also received some CARES Act funding, which has allowed us to do a few extra things with meals. The first being is that we are able to provide weekend meals for those people that are food dependent on the weekends. So instead of a box of 10, they get a box of 14 every other week. And that's funding that was specifically designed from one of the CARES Act programs. And under that same CARES Act, we provide a grocery box once a month to every meal program client. And these are non-perishable items, items that don't have to be frozen, that they can use to supplement a meal. It could be a box of macaroni, it could be crackers and fruit cups and things of this nature, but things that they can use to supplement their own meals. Right now, we expect that the funding for the weekend meals and the grocery boxes will carry us through probably August or September based on the CARES Act funding. Another thing, though, when you talk about meals that's just as important as eating a nutritious meal is the social connection and human interaction. That's just evenly important as the nutritious meal. And so if we're not having clients come into one of our 5 centers every day, or if we don't have a volunteer standing on your front porch every day delivering a hot meal, you're missing out on that social interaction. And for many of our clients, that's the only social interaction they'll have that day. So what we've been doing, all of our centers every day are making outbound phone calls to clients to say, how are you doing? What do you need from us? Are the meals still working for you? Do you have any questions? Through those calls, we have picked up groceries for clients. We have gone to the pharmacy and picked up prescription medications for clients. My favorite one is that we have an individual in Liberty that his sense of self-independence is having a driver's license. Now, it doesn't matter that he doesn't own a car, but to him, it's really critical that he maintain a driver's license. So we picked him up one day. Of course, he didn't have Wi-Fi at his house, so we went to the nearest place we could find Wi-Fi, which was a shopping center parking lot, and we renewed his license online, and then 2 weeks later, he received it in the mail. So we're trying to reach out in that capacity to say, what can we do for you to help ease this time? We've also learned that we really needed to enhance our website and our social media sites, Facebook and Instagram, for those clients that do have access to a computer. And so we've worked diligently over the last 13 and a half months to enhance what we have available on our website and social medias. Another thing that we've created is a party line. Some of us will remember what that means. But this is a way every week, each center holds a call where their seniors that normally would come to congregate can call in and they simply talk and interact. They could have a special topic. The very first one in February was in honor of Elvis's birthday. I was on that one, and I can't believe these folks knew their Elvis. They were on top of that. But it could be current events. It could be a book. Most of the time, it starts with, when are you going to reopen? But we've been doing that, and that's been very well received. The thing that I'm probably the most excited about is through another CARES Act, we have received a technology grant, and we have been able to purchase Samsung, Android, and Apple iPad tablets for all 4 of our senior centers, and we will conduct basic computer skills training for senior adults 60 and over years of age. We're real excited about this. Right now, our staff is going through the Train the Trainer, and we will start these classes either later this month or early June. And if any of you are interested in registering for that, we would love to have you be a part of some of our early classes. Because if I look back at 13 and a half months ago and say, wow, if 80% of our clientele was computer savvy, tech savvy, all the things that we could have done interactively to stay connected to them. And so that's one of our goals, is to help them get connected and stay connected. Our basic services will continue until we're allowed to reopen. Not only will we continue running RCATs every day, but we're providing transportation for COVID vaccinations free of charge. If you call the health department to schedule an appointment and you reference, I don't know how I'm going to get there, they will direct you to call RCATs, and we will pick them up, wait for them, and take them home free of charge. We'll continue our information options counseling for Medicare and caregiver support via telephone. We'll continue the frozen meals. We'll continue our social connection initiatives. And one of the things that we're working on, still in its early stages, is there a way to band together with the health department and maybe other health groups in the area to take vaccinations to homebound clients, individuals who really don't have the ability to get out on their own and go get a vaccination. So that's in the early stages, but something that we're looking at as well. And again, in order for us to reopen, the governor and/or the health department needs to state that it's safe for senior adults to resume normal activities. I wanted to just mention very quickly, a lot of people ask us, well, where does your funding come from? And 99% of what we receive is through local, state, and federal grant programs. And we're very fortunate and very appreciative that the city of Asheboro has been an annual supporter of Randolph Senior Adults. Thank you for what you do for the clients and senior adults in this community. But I wanted to mention this because we have been able to participate during COVID in 7 different CARES Act stimulus programs. Everything from the Paycheck Protection Program, which is a loan, but the other 6 were grants. They've allowed us to add new clients to meal programs. It's allowed us to buy equipment for our centers that would help us be able to sanitize and cleanse when clients are allowed to come back. The meal programs I talked about earlier, the weekend meals and the grocery boxes, the technology grant, those 7 CARES Act grants total approximately $1.6 million. And before you ask, why do you need city money if you got $1.6 million in CARES Act, that's a one-time source of funding. It is not a recurring source of funds. So I knew going into this fiscal year, we would look pretty good. It's after this fiscal year ends and the one-time stimulus money goes away that we'll be back out there being very careful in terms of what we have to do and what we need to do to add new clients as the demographic continues to grow. So at the end of all this, why is it really important that we provide these kind of resources to senior adults? First of all, there are now 25,000 residents in Randolph County that are 65 years of age and older. So 1 out of every 6 people in our community is 65 years of age or older. Almost 9% of Randolph County citizens live below the poverty level. Interesting fact, for every $2 we spend on a nutritious meal, senior adults average saving $25 in health costs. So a pretty good investment for what we spend on our meals. And then if you go back to Randolph County's strategic plan of 2016, that plan said that between the years 2016 and 2031, senior adults will account for 99% of the population growth in our county. Said another way, during that 15-year span, only 1% of our population growth will be under the age of 65. So we're coming. For many of us, we're there. So we want to do it right. We want to do it well. And we're so excited about the community support we receive, not only from the city of Asheboro and Randolph County, but several other municipalities in our county as well. So I would be happy to try and answer any questions that you may have this evening.
When you gonna open?
Between June and July. So, all right, well, again, I just want to say thank you for your continued support. We have a really good relationship with the city manager, John, and he's always available to listen to crazy ideas or thoughts, and he's been very, very supportive to us. And he can't hide. We know where to find him. So with that being said, I just want to thank you again, and thank you for your time tonight.
Thank you, Mark. You do an absolutely fabulous job in a difficult situation. Thank you for your service and your dedication to the Senior Adult Association.
Well, it sure beats banking. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you.
Yeah, they're looking to care for people they are not get rid of.
Okay, this is the appointed time for the public comment period. Is there anyone in the House tonight that would like to address the council on any matters of city business or concern?
Tom?
I don't see any.
Well,
There is an individual.
yeah.
Okay, all right.
Sorry, I didn't realize when my time was going to be up.
Well, it's okay.
My name's Tom Pappas, and I represent absolutely nobody other than myself. We're opening up a new business downtown, Leo's Whiskey Bar. The reason why I know that is because we sent a large check to ABC, and they told me so. So it was kind of an interesting, we moved here in August. Please excuse the accent, but we moved here in August, and we just love the community. And we want to become citizens of the community, not only, our house and everything like that, but business as well. We felt as though that's the right thing to do. We moved here from California. Don't hold that against us. We did move here from California, and we were raised, my sister and I moved here. My mom and my aunt moved here as well. So all of my living family are living here right now, today, in the city of Asheboro.
That's great.
So we thank you for letting us come here, first of all. Second of all, just to let you know how much we appreciate working with the city. What a joy it's been to be able to work with the city and actually have a productive back and forth. I mean, I got to tell you, I've never met a city, and I've worked with a lot in my working time. I've retired, but I've never worked with a city before that's been so accommodating and forthright and thinking and easy to deal with. Now, I understand that, sometimes the smaller cities are easier to do that, but I've also been in smaller cities where they have not been very easy to do that. In fact, they've become very difficult to do that. But this is certainly not the case. So anyway, we want to do the right thing. We want to be a good business here. It's been an eye-opening experience. My father and I used to drink when I would come home from college. By the way, I went to LSU, so Don't hold that against me. But the fact of the matter is, we would come home and my dad would drink scotch and I would drink bourbon. Now, neither one of us is a big drinker. That's not the point. The point was trying to convert one another to the other side. So we were kind of in a conversion mode when I would see him coming home every weekend. So anyway, we would do that. My father has since passed. He passed about 13 years ago. My mom's still alive. My mom and my aunt are living at Claps Mountaintop. I think the police will know them well by the time they get through breaking up the two little Italian ladies fighting in the hallway. It'll be fun. It'll be great. But, and my sister retired from teaching in California for 32 years, and I was there the majority of my working life for about 40 years. So it was just time to move, time to come back to, I mentioned to our pastor, I said, you know, it's kind of interesting. I wondered if you could ever go home to a place you've never been to before. And I said, yes, Asheboro, North Carolina. Now, I didn't know that when I came here, but since the time we've been here, it'll be coming on. See, I think we came out last May to look for a home and that type of thing. And I said, you know what? We're home. I told my wife, she says, oh, absolutely. And my sister said, we were raised in a steel town. My great-grandfather, my grandfather, and my dad were all steel workers. You guys may have seen the movie Rudy.
Mhm.
Well, my story is very similar to that. I was a walk-on football player at LSU back in the 70s, and I was just too dumb to know that I couldn't do it. So I ended up getting a scholarship, and I played in a few more games than Rudy did. But the fact of the matter is I was the first person in our family to ever go to college. So it was kind of cool to see that movie come out. And I've actually met and talked with Rudy Rudiger before. Great guy, but he has a lot more. Notre Dame's probably more famous than LSU. Not here, but. So in any case, I just want to thank everybody for the opportunity. Charlie's been great to work with. We live in the same neighborhood, and it has just been so wonderful. And if you ever have a problem with us, you're talking to the owner. At least that latitude that my wife and my sister give me. So, that having been said, if there's ever an issue by anybody on the council or any management, attorney, or anything like that, I'd be more than happy to address it face to face, which is kind of the way we like to do business, at least at Leo's. That was my dad's name, by the way.
Where is your business?
111 North Street. It's right across from Taco Loco on North Street, and I think there's a Sweeties dress shop or whatever they call it.
Boutique, yeah.
Boutique, yeah.
So
Boutique.
you're beside the boutique.
Yeah. It's right next door to
Yeah.
And the name of it again?
Leo's.
Leo's.
Leo's Whiskey Bar. And again, it's not about the whiskey, it's about the conversation. We're going to do a throwback to the 1940s. So I was kind of looking on the wall there who the mayor was and that kind of thing. And one of the things we want to do is to go down to the Randolph Room in the library
Yeah.
and get some photos of the 1940s to put
We got
up there.
lots of photos here.
Lots of photos.
You can find about whatever you want a picture of.
Oh, we got to have the movies. We got to have radio. We got a radio that my grandfather had back in the 40s. And we have a picture of my dad when he came back from the service in 1945. So those will be the two historical elements that'll be there. You know, it's not a mausoleum. It's not a, you know, it's just kind of a good time. We're not going to have internet. We're not going to have TVs. We're going to have conversation, high quality music, and
Are you open at this point?
no, did you want to go down right now? 'Cause I know a guy that has a key. No, we're hopefully.
Do you deliver?
Yeah, no, we're not going to do that either.
What's your expectation as far as being open?
We're hoping to be open by the 18th. We're going to be open. I know you're doing a John's doing. Where's John? John, right there. He's going to do a presentation about the streetery. So we're going to have a table and a little thing, but obviously we're not going to be serving anything. But the bar right now has been built by Steve Lucas. It's all custom. I don't know if do y'all remember what was in there before? It was
Chalk paint?
no, that's next door.
Okay, that's okay.
Yeah, it was something, but they had great floors, but nothing else. It was just a shell with exposed brick and everything like that. So we went in there and says, we'd like a horseshoe bar where we can talk, you know, next to one another as well as over back and forth. And so the 18th is the day, and
Well, good luck. And
thank you.
we are just thrilled to death that you chose Asheboro, North Carolina.
Man, couldn't have thought a better place. There was a kind of home that we wanted. Epcon built those homes out on Old Town Parkway and, or Old Town Village. And Epcon, we've lived in those kinds of homes before, smaller. We don't have any kids, so just smaller, that type of thing. So we really enjoyed that. And of course, when we thought of Asheboro, we thought of Asheville. And so we thought, well, we'll just live in Asheville. Well, that's not anything like Asheboro in so many great ways. So I can say that. See, I'm not elected, so I can say all that kind of stuff. So it's great, but we came here, and I've volunteer coached the football team. We're working to do better. And we have church here, and we're just loving being part of the community.
Great.
So
That is so gratifying to hear somebody that is so excited about being here and choosing to be here. So thank you, sir.
you're
And good
welcome.
luck to you. And I made this promise one time already today, and I will promise you we will do whatever we can do to help you be successful.
Yes, sir. The goal is to be a community place. It really is. While we'll make a little bit of money, that's not what it's about. It's about being a good citizen and harboring conversations with one another rather than at one another. That's our ambition, that's our goal. And as we call it by the tagline, a marketing person told me I had to have it, it's a step back in time. And I think right now we can start thinking about doing that.
Wasn't me.
So, right, thank
Good
you.
luck, sir.
Thank you.
I was
Thank you for
thinking,
coming by.
as you were doing the good conversation around the bar there, when you were listing your accomplishments and you were talking about how many of your family members moved, you can take full credit for the state of California losing a congressional seat and North Carolina gaining one. It's all because of you.
We didn't move that.
Thank you.
Sometimes I wonder why we moved as many people as we did.
Yeah.
No, it's nice to be able to, like my sister says, we're now a square peg in a square hole, which is really great. Out there, we were blue collar, hardworking. My sister used to say, did you know that they started a television show by the name of Blue Bloods about you? And I says, no, I don't know any. I'd never watched it before. And I started watching it. She says, yeah, Frank Reagan is you. And I go, I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing since I found out, but that's
You and Tom Selleck, the similarities are just uncanny. Yeah.
I got to get a better tooth though.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, Tom.
Okay, no one else here tonight to speak to the council. We'll move to the consent agenda.
Mayor, we missed item number 5.
Oh, I did. Okay. Thank you, John. As you guys know, the twists and turns of saving the Randolph Health, particularly the hospital, have been numerous and very frustrating over the last 2 years, minimum 2 years, and as much as 5 or 6 years. The roadblocks and the twists, I've never seen anything as complicated with so many fits and starts and roadblocks as that has been. So I am pleased to report tonight that the North Carolina Local Government Commission on Tuesday approved the amended Rural Health Stabilization Fund loan for Randolph County in the amount of $12 million and not the original $20 million that we were hoping and basing most of the effort on. 12 was more palatable to the Local Government Commission. And they did approve that Tuesday in a meeting, and that $12 million will be used for capital equipment needs after the purchase of the bankrupt assets of Randolph Health by American Healthcare Systems. It's anticipated that healthcare systems will close this deal early June, and at that point, new corporation will own and manage Randolph Health. And that includes, at this point, I believe it includes the Stay Well, John, is that right? Yes, sir. Stay Well, The cancer center is being, parted out to, possibly to Cone, but will remain, in its location and as an asset, healthcare asset for Asheboro. And all of the allied practices are part of this deal. So, we're hoping and expecting to not notice a whole lot of change in our local healthcare. And I need at this point to say that, this is all directly related to Darryl Fry. Darryl Fry has done more work on this one thing in the last 2 years, than anybody. He had many sleepless nights and hundreds of hours of telephone conversations, and I don't think any of us will ever truly know how much work Darryl Fry did in saving our hospital. So at this point, we're keeping our fingers crossed. Now, I should also mention that his experience at High Point regionally was on the board there and chairman of that board for a while. And his experience there helped him in these negotiations and navigations. Our local legislative delegation, Representative Hurley and McNeil and former Senator Tillman and current Senator David Craven, all worked hard to make this happen. And I think they were just as frustrated as we were. Every time we thought we had something worked out, it got turned around, or there was a reason why that won't work, or this won't work, or whatever. So stopping and starting and changing the plan has been the main tenet of this whole 2-year process.
Does this mean the consultants will be leaving about the 1st of June?
Well, once the bankruptcy's settled, I'm hoping. I don't know exactly what that means. They're still retained by the hospital board, and at some point there will cease to be, that board director will cease to be, and at some point the contract will expire and the new owners will take over. So I don't know exactly what the timeline on that is, but Chairman Fry, County Manager Harold Johnson, City Manager John Ogburn have all been working hard on Randolph Health's merger attempts and the restructuring since October of 2018. That's even longer than I could remember. And very satisfying to see the bankruptcy and the restructuring plan come together finally, and we will keep our fingers crossed and hope that we can close this out and have a new owner sometime early June. Johnny, anything to add?
Somebody asked me what it was like, and I said, it's kind of like nailing Jell-O to a wall. I meant every day there was a new set of targets and a new set of,
Difficulties.
opportunities. That's what they tell you in management school. Difficulties is what they tell you.
No such thing as problem, just opportunity.
Just an opportunity, right.
So, any questions? John and I could probably answer any of your questions if, other than that one.
I think those contracts probably expire with the,
They should liquidate, I would.
Well,
they are extended every month through an order of the bankruptcy court, so.
yeah, bankruptcy court has to sign off on that contract, every month. So, that's what we know at this point. We were relieved because even right up to the meeting Tuesday, there was opposition to approving any kind of loan. And it wasn't about Randolph County being able to pay the money back or qualified to borrow the money. It was about the plan. and the feasibility of the plan in the mind of the people in Raleigh. They just resisted, didn't think, they kept saying 20 million wasn't enough, but they approved 12. So, I don't know. It's been frustrating. It's been an eye-opener, and I've learned more about bankruptcy and the political process than I ever thought I would know. All right. On the consent agenda, item G, staff has requested that item G be removed.
Yeah, Mayor, we're a couple of documents short we've not got from W.K. Dixon yet, so we would request that just be withdrawn, and when we get those documents, we'll recalendar it on the next council meeting that we have everything there.
All right. Is there any other item on the consent agenda that you would like to remove for individual consideration or consideration at a later date? Hearing none, I will entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda minus item G.
Mayor, I move we approve the consent agenda as amended.
Thank you, Ms. Redding. Do I have a second?
Second,
Second, Ms. Carter, and it's good to have you back tonight.
thank you. It's good to be back.
Yeah, I bet. Okay, any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Consent agenda is approved minus item G. Okay, Mr. Nuttall, it's good to see you back.
Thank you.
I'm hoping that you are regaining your strength.
I am, and no plans to miss another meeting, ever.
Not that way, anyway.
Not that way.
Yeah.
But thank you, Mayor.
Okay, item 8A is a legislative hearing on a case continued from the April 8th meeting. It's case number RZ-21-02, a proposed zoning ordinance text amendment designed to align the city zoning ordinance with the changing legal framework for the regulation of development. This is hearing is being continued from April 8th.
Thank you, Mayor. The nice thing about the city streaming these meetings is I was able to, well, not participate here, I was able to watch the presentation that Mr. Luck gave last month. So I do want to thank him and all the community development staff who have pinch hit for me over the last few months. Fortunately for you all, I think he did a great job explaining the purpose behind this proposal, why it's in front of you, and some of the highlights of this proposed amendment and reorganization. So I'm not going to revisit that unless you want me to, but what I do want to do is discuss with you some of the changes as we continue to work through this process, ensuring compliance with the state legislation and federal case law around signage. We are still in the process of making some adjustments as we go. And so that's what I want to review with you real briefly here tonight. I'll tell you at this point, we are again going to ask council to continue this one more time. The deadline for implementation is July 1st. And so we do want to take every opportunity we have, both for public comment on this proposal, but also from a logistics standpoint to allow us to make sure all of our applications that are needing to be updated to align with 160D occur. So there's a lot of moving parts of this. We will be asking for a continuance again tonight, and we'll be ready hopefully for adoption next month. We feel like we're in a good place with this proposal, but up on the screen are really the highlights of what has changed since Mr. Luck's presentation. We have started to add the cross-references and the statutory references within the document. That document is online. I did send out a link with the agenda packet information. We have hard copies here as well. I'm going to build some muscle, I think, over the next 2 months as I carry around dual ordinances until this is ultimately adopted. But a couple things that we have had to do is look at our deadlines for filing rezoning amendments, because one thing we want applicants to do is have a pre-application conference with us, especially if they are going to be seeking a conditional zoning district, because it is such a new process for the city. We have built in a requirement under the proposed ordinance that folks not just submit an application, but actually come in and talk to us so we can have dialogue about that application and what we believe the city's expectations will be for that application. There has been a clarification and a codification about the council's ability, should changes occur to the application after the planning board has seen it. It is now very clear in the proposed ordinance that the council can direct that to go back to planning board for additional review, because there is an opportunity for applicants to continue to change their site plan, to continue to change what they are proposing as they go. And if that deviates too much from the planning board, we do think it's helpful to have council have clear ability to refer that back, both for your benefit, but also for neighboring property owners or other interested parties in the matter. One amendment you may remember about a year ago is we had adjusted the definition of commercial vehicle and how we handle commercial vehicles that are parked on residentially zoned property. We are taking this opportunity to adjust that just a little bit to ensure that when we have maybe non-licensed commercial vehicles or vehicles that don't fit the definition of a commercial vehicle under the code, but they are of such a length that they are atypical and not customary for a residential zoning district. We are revisiting the language that the city had prior to that amendment last year to allow us to deal with, in essence, long trailers and equipment that may be being stored in residential districts. We haven't really had too many issues with this amendment, but we can foresee that there could be things that we want to tighten up on that particular ordinance section. So that is, we are taking that opportunity now to do that. One of the areas I know council had discussion on with Mr. Luck last month was how we ensure compliance with the federal case law for signage, but also have some ability to manage signs during the election period and not have no ability to deal with the proliferation of signs during election periods. And so what we propose, after listening to those comments at the council meeting and reviewing the current ordinance, is to just carry over the current standards as it relates to sign area and sign height that we have currently on the books and move that into the reorganized ordinance. So we'll have the ability, and we think it's still ample opportunity for property owners to support their candidate of choice, but it also hopefully prevents a situation where we all can agree that it may be out of control in terms of signage during the election period. It gives us the ability, we believe, to handle it as we currently handle it. So if you were to look at the ordinance as it relates to election period signage, you'll see some additional language that very similar to how we handle it today within the ordinance. One of the challenges with that standard is that the state statutes have some allowances for signage within the public right-of-way, which is completely different than what we can regulate on private property. So there's some things that are permitted under state statute that would not otherwise be permitted under the city's proposed sign ordinance. But we'll have to just manage those differences as we go. That's something that we've had to deal with for a number of years now. And it seems we seem to be managing that okay based on the level of complaints and inquiries we receive during the election period. So again, there hasn't been a whole lot of change. I believe we've taken some comments that we've heard both from council and elsewhere to continue to refine and improve this proposal. I'll tell you, you know, from a review of the city's land development plan, you know, we do think there's support within that plan for these amendments, but obviously there's a requirement to get this codified due to the state legislation. So we, in terms of when we get to that point to consider this formally next month, you will find there are goals and policies supporting the request. Those reasons are up on the screen now, and we'll review those again next month. But we do, Mayor, ask council to grant us one additional continuance on this matter. Planning Board did hear additional information on this case Monday evening and did take our suggestion to continue this till June. So that is the Planning Board and the staff's recommendation this evening. Thank you, Mayor.
Questions? May I have a motion to continue until the June meeting?
Mayor, I move we continue this item to the June 10 regularly scheduled meeting.
Motion by Mr. Bell. May I have a second?
Second.
Second, Mr. Burks. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, motion is approved. This will be continued until June 10th.
Thank you, Mayor.
All right, item 8B is legislative hearing. I'll open that hearing. Case number RZ 21-03, application to rezone from R10 to R40, property identified by parcel ID number on north side of Kid Drive.
Thank you, Mayor. Last week, we did receive a request from the applicant's legal counsel on this item to requesting a continuance of this item as well to the June meeting. That was noted on the agenda as well. We would recommend a granting of that continuance request.
Have a request for a continuance. May I have a motion to approve that request?
Mayor, I move we approve the request to continue to June 10.
Thank you, Mr. Bell. May I have a second?
Second.
Second, Ms. Redding. Discussion. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. And item 8C is, I'll open a legislative hearing on case number RZ-21-04. It's an application to rezone from I-2 to B-2 property located at 532 West Salisbury Street.
Thank you, Mayor. The applicant on this request is a property owner, Farmers Mutual Insurance Company, for property located at 532 West Salisbury Street. This is a request to move the property from a general industrial I-2 district to B-2 general commercial. The request involves the entirety of a single Randolph County PIN. We're looking at just over 2.5 acres in size for this property. Currently, the property is undeveloped. It was formerly the property of P&P Chair Company, and furniture manufacturing had been the use of the property. Up on the screen towards the center of the slide and that map, you'll see an area outlined in yellow. That is the subject parcel. You see the purple denotes industrial zoning on this map. As we zoom in a little closer, you can see the property is bounded on the west by Summit Avenue, on the east by North Park Street, and on the south by the railroad right-of-way, as well as West Salisbury Street. Again, the purple is the existing industrial zoning, but you'll see over time there has been an evolution towards B2 commercial in the immediate vicinity of this property, and that is what this request is here this evening, to move this property into that B2 district. We'll note, as we discussed with the applicant and in the staff report, this is subject to Tier 3 rules of the Center City Planning Area. That essentially has some additional requirements for green space as property develops to help manage stormwater type issues in the downtown area. So there is a limit or a cap on the amount of hard service that will be able to be put down on this property, as it is for all Tier 3 properties. The screen here shows the existing topography of the site, as well as the location of existing city utilities. The city does have an 8-inch outfall that clips the southeast portion of the property. Towards the northwest of the property, you'll see some slopes that technically are considered steep under the land development plan standard. And when we get to the land development plan's recommendations, you'll note that that policy that is referenced pertaining to those slopes. This is an aerial map showing you development pattern for the area. Again, there is no existing development on the property. It is currently undeveloped, but you can see the mixture of commercial, office, and industrial uses surrounding the property. Several pictures. This is subject property as seen from West Salisbury Street. You can see the medical complex in the background there. This property is essentially on the other side of the railroad tracks from this location. We are looking at the subject property from North Park Street. The subject property will be to the left of that photo, that wooded area. This is a good shot of the entirety of the subject property as seen from Summit Avenue. This is a view looking east along West Salisbury Street. I'll note that the applicant is also the owner of this property seen to the right. So they have property on both sides of the street. And then we are looking west along West Salisbury Street in this photo. This is looking north along North Park Street, and then south along North Park Street. I think this is one final shot looking north along Summit Avenue, north of the property. And then looking back south towards Salisbury Street, subject property to the left. Turning to the analysis on the request, this property is within the city limits and is able to receive the full array of city services. West Salisbury Street, Highway 42 North is state maintained. North Park Street, however, and Summit Avenue are both city maintained streets. We'll note, as you know, North Park Street does have a signalized intersection with West Salisbury Street in this area. Again, the property is adjacent to the Norfolk Southern Railroad, and there is an existing driveway cut that was previously used to access the property from West Salisbury Street. We'll note that any new use of that crossing likely will require some additional review from the railroad as well as additional review from NCDOT. Will be much easier, in our opinion, to get access from the city streets, but it could occur depending on what those requirements are as dictated by the railroad and NCDOT. That access could, in theory, occur from Salisbury Street. We'll note that the zoning ordinance does have sidewalk construction requirements for new commercial site development on streets with curb and gutter that also possess sufficient right-of-way width for that sidewalk to be constructed within the public right-of-way. This would only come into play on Summit Avenue, and it's a little inconclusive at this point on whether there's room there for that sidewalk to be installed. But we will look to that as should this property be rezoned and site development plans come in. We will look to see if that sidewalk construction will occur per the ordinance. For you and the public, we'll read into the record the intent of the current I-2 district is to produce areas for intensive manufacturing, warehousing, processing, and assembly uses, versus the intent of the requested B2 district is to serve the convenience goods, shopper goods, and retail needs of the motoring public. And this district should always be located with direct access to a major or minor thoroughfare and never local streets. This is in the city activity center as identified by the city's land development plan. That's where those tier 3 regulations come from. It's part of the central small area plan and a primary growth area. In reviewing the land development plan goals and policies for this request, we believe there are 7 goals and policies supporting the request. The only one that we believe to be negative pertains to a small area of steep slopes on the property that I don't think will have any impact on future development plans for the site. So overall, the This proposal is very much supported by the Land Development Plan recommendations. It is part of the City Activity Center. That plan envisions pedestrian-friendly community focal points with a mixture of complementary residential and commercial uses. As you know, there has been new residential development built in the area, and there are plans for additional residential growth in this area, so that commercial services would very much be beneficial to new residents in the area. For all those reasons, both the staff and the planning board do recommend approval of this request. The applicant's representative is also present this evening. Thank you, Mayor.
Mayor, may I have leave to speak with council for just a second? Our council. Sir, please.
It's a slippery slope, Clark.
I know.
Keyword there is just a second.
Don't make me bring John Kennedy back.
Mayor, after consulting with council, I would move to be allowed to recuse from the decision in this petition.
I need a motion to recuse Councilman Bell from this deliberation.
Mayor, I move we recuse Councilman Bell from this deliberation.
Thank you, Mr. Burks. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second, Ms. Snuggs down there?
No.
Oh, was that Linda? I'm sorry.
That's all right.
Well, I thought she was voting
Charlie,
no.
too.
Ms. Carter made the second. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Mr. Bell is recused from this item.
Can I stay here if I don't ask any questions?
Put your fingers in yours.
Okay. Okay, are there any questions of Mr. Nuttall or the applicant? Well, hearing none, then I'll ask for a motion.
Mr. Mayor, based upon the information provided by the staff and the planning board, I found that it would be consistent with their recommendations, that we make a motion to approve the rezoning request as presented.
Have a motion by Councilman Moffitt. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second, Ms. Redding, Councilwoman Redding. Discussion?
That does include the consistency statement. Yes.
Thank you. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign. Motion carries. This rezoning is granted. Thanks, sir. Do we need to take action on Mr. Bell to return?
With him being excused just from that one item, he's
Okay,
automatically
great.
in the discussion.
The man that usually makes the motion wasn't here.
That was rough.
Well, I owe money.
All right, item 8D is a request for preliminary plat approval for Windcrest Section 3. Windcrest Acres, Section 3.
Hopefully this will be an over preview.
Thank you, Mayor. This is a request for preliminary plat approval by the owner, Davidson Land Development Company. Again, preliminary plat is a stage where, following approval of the plat and the plan and profile for street and water and sewer, and the securing of the required erosion control permit from the state, construction can occur. So this is the request before you this evening. We're looking at 21 acres in this section of the development out of a total of about 70 acres. It's a portion of one pin. If you were to count all those lots on this subdivision plan, there are 47 total. Combined with the existing platted portions of this development, there will be 72 lots in both the recorded section and this proposed section. Average lot size is just under 4/10 of an acre in size. Up on the screen, you'll see the lots as drawn by our GIS analyst, giving you an idea of the layout of the subdivision as it relates to existing development and lots in the area. As we zoom in a little closer, you can see that lot layout as well as existing topography. There is quite a bit of movement on this property, as well as the existing city-maintained utilities in the area that will be extended as a part of this proposal. This aerial gives you an idea of how the proposed extension of streets ties into the existing street network. I do want to note a few things on this plat. Again, sections 1 and 2 were recorded over 10 years ago, I believe, and they're towards the Central Falls Road, the northern portion of the development. The 47 lots are a continuation of those two sections. I do want to note, this is a plat that came in for sketch design, the first step in this process in 1995, I believe. And at that time, a couple of things to note, the city did not have a curb and gutter street standard requirement. So those first two sections have developed with ditch and shoulder roadway sections, and the applicant is proposing to continue that standard through the rest of what they were previously granted approval for by the city. And I'll say we have talked about this internally, and we do think there are compelling reasons to allow that to continue for what previously was approved. Now, the landowner does have some additional property to the south of this that was not part of that master plan that this was submitted to the city and approved. Development of that area would be subject to the current standards, subdivision ordinance standards of the city. The other thing I want to note is, going back to that original concept plan from 1995, there was always the interest in having a secondary point of access into this development, and it has always been in the general location of the existing Bennett Street, which is shown on the map towards the bottom of this portion of the plat up on the screen. That's important because without that second connection, we would have 72 lots with only a single access on Central Falls Road, which is not good for efficient city service delivery or emergency response as well. So this proposal would connect Bennett Street with the improvements being made by the developer to provide that secondary access. Has long been planned that occur. We've talked with just to ensure that we still think that that's an important thing to occur from the city standpoint. We've talked to public services as well as the fire department, and both are in agreement with community development that is an important connection to seek at this point in this development. I tell you that because when that connection is made, there will be some increase to traffic on Bennett Street and Turner Street, which goes out to Old Liberty Road. And so, while I don't think it'll be the primary traffic access for this development, there will be additional traffic that is put on those streets after that connection is made. And so I expect that we'll get some questions and some calls, and you may as well, after that connection is made. But it is something that we do think is important from a public safety and a service delivery perspective. So just keep that in mind as this construction occurs. As I said, the master plan was submitted in 1995. The original preliminary plat for this development was approved in 2004. Because of the amount of time that has lapsed, the engineering of this development needed to come back before council for approval. I think those other two items I have covered. As you'll see on the plat, one of the plat notes that planning and zoning has is that the drawing labels what appears to be 500-year flood area as 100-year flood area, and we want to make sure that that gets fixed before this subdivision is recorded to avoid any confusion there. It does not appear that there is any regulated 100-year flood area on the property, but there are areas that could be subject to flooding during what is known as a 500-year storm. Roadway improvements to Central Falls did occur with the development of the first two sections. So there's both a decel and a turn lane that enter the development. And again, we've talked about the importance of that connection to Bennett Street. The developer, if you see on the kind of towards the east and south, you'll see what looks like a roadway crossing a stream and then stubbing out to the southern property to the south. That is owned by the developer. There is a chance for an additional access via that right-of-way. However, that is not planned to be built with this phase. It is essentially being reserved by the developer to allow what could be a future connection to that remaining land area to the south. From the engineering department, I've talked to Mr. Leonard about this. There are some additional details that they'll be looking for, one of which is some information on the connection of the subdivision street to Bennett Street. We don't have plan and profiles on that segment. There's some additional information pertaining to site grading that they want to look at, but nothing that we feel should hold up council's consideration this evening. Public Works has commented regarding the reasonableness of continuing non-curb and gutter with this phase of the development. Other than that, there's the plan and the plat is in pretty decent shape. The fire department does want to ensure that what has been an existing hydrant out there is operational at the time that this development comes online. Like I said, the hydrant's there, but it has not been publicly maintained up until this point. And it does look like there is a road name that's being proposed by the developer that may be problematic for Randolph County 911 from a duplication of road name perspective. So we want to ensure that that gets addressed prior to final plat approval. Other than that, we believe this proposal is in decent enough shape for council to grant a conditional approval subject to the additional information being submitted to city staff for review and approval. Yes, sir.
I'd like to add an additional engineering comment if we could. I'm sure that Mac has laid this out distance-wise and all, but at the end of Fox Laurel Court, it looks like it's at best the maximum allowable distance from the fire hydrant, and they've got a 3-inch line coming down there. And what's concerning, this is more for them than for us in a certain way, if they extend this future right-of-way development down through there, assuming that it will be a continuation of the existing subdivisions, that's what it looks like they're showing.
Right.
They really need to consider changing that 3-inch water line to a 6, and this cost is it's nominal at that distance, I mean, and putting a hydrant at the end of Foxhall Court instead of that blow off. When they go to extend at that point, they'll be in compliance with the hydrants. You'll have 6 inch going on through there for fire protection, or you're gonna have to go back and take up that whole street and redo that thing. And I mean, and now, I'm just
Yeah, that-
suggesting, I don't wanna do anything to hold it up.
Sure,
but
absolutely.
That's gonna be an issue.
Yeah, and
If
you're,
it never happens,
yeah.
it won't cost hardly nothing to fix this up now, cause there ain't much difference between the price of a hydrant and building that blow off.
you're absolutely right. I think it's close enough now with that existing hydrant in front of lots 29 and 44 for this section to be technically compliant with that.
It's at the edge of it.
Yeah,
It's
but
at-
as you
it's
said,
measuring a lot distance.
Yeah.
It might
Pretty-
make
pretty
it
close.
okay measure.
but as you say, any extension of that is gonna require another
It just,
hydrant.
I would think engineering and
Yep,
fire services would
yep.
support,
And we'll pass that along to the engineer as well.
because that 3 won't make a good loop if they keep it going.
Okay. Other questions? We have a, staff planning board recommendation to approve with comments. I'll entertain a motion to that effect.
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion that we approve with the additional noted comment.
Have a motion by Mr. Moffett. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second, Mr. Bell. Discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign. Motion approved unanimously. Thank you so
Thank you, Mayor.
much. Mr. Leonard.
Sorry, Mayor, we got one more
Oh,
item.
You do, I'm sorry.
I threw you off because I started to walk
Picked
away.
up your stuff like you were
Yep,
ready to
yep,
go.
that's right.
And I am ready to go.
Listen, and I forgot to turn on the monitors, and thanks to Ms. Redding, she reminded me to turn on the council monitors. I'm still getting back in the swing here. We did have, unfortunately, and sad to say, a resignation of Vice Chairperson Cynthia Bailey from the Redevelopment Commission here recently. So you do have a vacancy on the City Redevelopment Commission. We do have some applicants who have submitted to be considered for that, some of which are outside the city limits and a few who are in. It is our recommendation just to open up per the standard policy, solicit for approximately 30 days for new applicants, and then contact the folks we have on file to see if they're interested in serving still. And so that is the announcement that we'll make, and without objection, that's how we'll proceed. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Okay, Mr. Leonard, I'm sorry. Item 9A, annexation petition for property at 2835 Zoo Parkway.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This portion of property is 1.25 acres and is owned by Robert and Kelly Link. You have in your packets a resolution prepared by the city attorney, which is directing the city clerk to take the required actions. Staff recommends adoption of this resolution by reference.
Questions? May I have a motion?
Mayor, I move we adopt the resolution by reference.
Have a motion to adopt by reference by Mr. Bell. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second, Mr. Burks. Thank you, sir. Discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Item 9B.
Actually,
Okay, go ahead. I'm sorry.
sorry to interrupt, sir. In anticipation of your action, city clerk has prepared a certification of sufficiency for the petition. In light of certification, you have in front of you a resolution prepared by the city attorney setting the public hearing date for the next city council meeting for June 10th, 2021, with the question of the requested annexation, and staff recommends adoption of this resolution by reference.
All right. Can we do item 3 with that? We cannot.
No, sir. That has to be a finding for number 3.
Okay, all right. Motion to adopt resolution setting the date for the public hearing.
Mayor, I move we adopt a resolution setting the date for a public hearing by reference.
Have a motion by Mr. Bell to adopt by reference. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second, Mr. Burks. Discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Item A3, consideration of issuance of temporary connection permit.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The request has been sent in, or a letter has been sent in requesting a temporary connection due to the failing septic system on the lot. Staff recommends approval.
All right. We have a recommendation for approval. May I have a motion?
Mayor, I move we approve the temporary connection permit.
Thank you, Mr. Bell. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second, Mr. Burks.
If I could ask, Mr. Mayor, the city code specifically requires the clerk to enter a specific finding from the council to grant that. Is it appropriate to interpret the motion as that you've incorporated the recommendation from the health department for the failing system? Finding the clerk should.
Well, I'm pretty sure that's what he said, wasn't it?
Of course it does. Yeah.
I think if you ride over there, you can smell it.
That's what I said.
I'll go with the documentation.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Okay. Item A3 was approved also. Consideration, issuance of a temporary connection permit. Item 9B, annexation petition for property at 416 North Patton Avenue owned by Charles Ridley.
Yes, sir. This is a property containing approximately .38 acres owned by Charles Ridley. And you have in your packets a resolution prepared by the city attorney that directs the city clerk to take the required actions, and staff recommends adoption by reference.
Any questions? I'll entertain a motion to adopt this resolution by reference.
Mayor, I'll move that we adopt this resolution by reference.
Have a motion by Mr. Burks. May I have a second?
Second.
Second. Ms. Snopes. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Item B1 is approved. Item 2, resolution setting a date for public hearing.
Once again, sir, in anticipation of your action, the city clerk has prepared a certification of sufficiency of the petition. In light of this certification, you have in front of you a resolution prepared by the city attorney setting the public hearing date for June 10th, 2021, the next city council meeting, on the question of the requested annexation. Staff recommends adoption of this resolution by reference.
Okay, we have a recommendation to adopt this resolution. I'll entertain a motion to adopt by reference.
Mayor, I move we adopt this resolution by reference.
Motion by Mr. Burks. May I have a second?
Second.
Second, Mr. Swears. Discussion. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Item B2 has been approved, setting the date for June 10th. And item B3, consideration of issuance of a temporary connection permit.
As with the previous property, we have received a letter concerning a failing septic tank requesting a temporary connection, and staff recommends approval.
All right. And that's sufficient finding?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Questions? Entertain a motion to issue a temporary connection permit.
Based on the failing septic system, I move that we allow or approve the temporary connection permit.
Have a motion by Mr. Bell. May I have a second?
Second.
Second, Mr. Burks, thank you. Discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Item B3 has been approved. Thank you, sir. All right. Item 10, City Manager John Ogburn, you're gonna give us some details on the street closure request?
Yes, Mayor, I'll finish up the staff presentations tonight. At your April meeting, you heard from the Downtown Asheboro Inc. group about closing the streetery and the request for Sunset Avenue and Fayetteville Street for this coming Saturday, May the 8th. You also heard from some local merchants that that their business model didn't really fit closing Fayetteville Street. So Mayor Smith and I both followed up with the downtown Asheboro Inc. folks, and we went to the vendors, the merchants that were here. And so in response to that, this weekend, there will be a streetery event, and in your packet is the request to close Sunset Avenue. That is the map on front of you. Requested to close it from 8 to 5 p.m., and Fayetteville Street will remain open. That event start, come down and see your eat on the street, and hopefully that'll be the last one we need for a while. Hopefully June 1st, we'll go back to 100% square footage.
And there's, in addition to that, or as part of that, there's a concert.
There is, Mayor, there's a band from 4 to 7 in Bicentennial Park. That permit's been issued already. I just remind the council that the head count is limited at 460 for that. So that'll be the responsibility of DAI. Obviously, APD will be out there. Some of the rec folks will be out there. We won't be counting, but like I said, this is the last one. I think we'll need to have for a while if we can get the governor will lift his order.
All right,
And that's what the indications are coming out of Raleigh at this time.
All right, we need to take action on the street closing request.
Yes, sir, please, because it's going to have the street arena adds the square footage into the street, that needs to come to the council. So,
Sunset Avenue only.
yes, sir.
Does that include a portion of North Street, excuse me, or do we need to take action on that?
North Street's on the map and it's on the petition.
Okay, referencing the map, I'll entertain a motion to approve the request.
Mayor, in reference to closing, the proposed closing of the streets as shown by the map, I move that we adopt the closure.
I have a motion by Mr. Bell. May I have a second?
Second.
Second, Ms. Redding. Discussion. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, John.
And there's your upcoming events, Mayor.
You want to go over?
Okay, like we just mentioned, Saturday, May 8th, the streetery in downtown is from 11 to 4. Tomorrow night, Friday night through Sunday night, and next week, Thursday through Sunday, is the Complete Works of Shakespeare Abridged. The Complete Works of Shakespeare Abridged at Memorial Park Tennis Court. That's a whole new way to use the tennis court. You heard the Senior Adults Director, Mark Hensley, talk about all their changes. We made a lot here as well, and Rhino Leap's going to have that outside, so please come. Looks like the weather's going to be nice this weekend. The farmer's market is open. It was a mild winter, so the crops are coming in a little early. That's Saturdays, Tuesdays, and Thursdays. You may remember that. And I'm excited to report that the pool will be open the Saturday, May 29th. We'll open the city pools. They were due for inspection sometime this week. Everything that is in my business, the fact that I haven't heard they didn't pass inspection mean they passed it. They won't tell me if it, I only get bad news. So please plan that. That's exciting news too. Trevor shared with me earlier that his son had his first Little League game tonight from not being able to play last year. I said, that gave me goosebumps, and it's not even my son. So I got him again just talking.
Yeah,
We look to hope,
yep.
and then, of course, about the end of May, we'll start up the Post 45 and the Copperheads. So, and again, if the order's lifted, there'll be you can have full capacity at Memorial Park. If not, the capacity is 700, 50% of 1,600, 800. McCrary Park.
All
That's
right.
all we have upcoming, Mayor. There will be sanitation changes, obviously, the Memorial Day. City Hall is open, by the way. If the governor lifts the order, we'll go ahead and open water billing quite soon after that. I apologize for the front of the building. The mayor and Councilmember Swears and Councilmember Burks and I were talking about the whole supply chain has been is accordion, you know, it's with being shut down and open up and shut down and the demand. So our new doors got here to finish the downstairs part. Really nice hardware came, but it's not the hardware we need nor ordered, and our other hardware is on back order. So we put the 1930s door back on it, and we got a 1930s chain holding it shut tonight. So we will need it open by June, though. Mayor, we will have a pretty substantial meeting in June. We'll have the final public hearing and adoption of the whole zoning ordinance. There'll be there is some new cases that are scheduled for the planning board. There's the Kid Drive case that we just continued, and we'll have the budget introduction that night. So that is June the 10th. And we're not planning to have a special budget workshop this month. There's starting to be a lot going on this month. The budget with our capital projects are in place. So we'll cover those with you again. We're not adding anything substantially to the budget. We had a really tight budget this year due to the COVID. Tomorrow, the finance director, Debbie Reeves, watches, you may have remember last month I told you the city's due to receive a little more than $7 million in funds from the CARES Act, the new American Recoveries Act. There'll be a class on that tomorrow. The funds are due, the first half of the funds are due to come sometime this month, assuming the feds and the state release them. And then the next batch comes, I think, next May. So we'll be qualified for that. May the 18th, Friday, May the 18th. Mayor, you need to get down your calendar too, please. The mayor, myself, the finance director, Ms. Reeves, and Mr. Nuttall for our North Carolina Community Development Block Grant COVID funds that we got the grant for $900,000 to push through. The United Way is our partner. Remember that? Our mandatory meeting for that will be the 18th. Those funds should come pretty quickly after that, then we can start pushing them out in the economy. There continues to be, we're here on the street, the mayor and I were talking about that earlier today, that and I'm sure Mr. Moffitt has the same issue. Right now we have a labor shortage on top of a part shortage. We've had some of that issue. I'm sure you have. It's particularly at your entry-level positions. It's hard to find people. I did amend our starting pay for some of our water and sewer people to try to be more in line with the private sector. By the time we get ours put through our system, they'll probably raise there again. It's very competitive out there for semi-skilled and skilled labor. Would you agree to that?
This past Tuesday, we had 3 paving crews with no flaggers showed up, period. And those, I mean.
You gotta have them.
What do you pay? $14. I mean, that's what they get paid. We pay 22 to the 10th place, because we don't know if we need 10 or 30 on a given day, so we run all that through the staffing agency. But
the last Friday of the month.
Noted it was the 3rd of the month.
Yeah.
Y'all know what happened?
Yeah, we know.
And we had no one.
Yeah, they do too. Mayor, at the end of this month, the last Friday will be Randy Purvis's last date. We have hired I'm proud to say we've hired a new chief building inspector. Eddie Garner comes to us from Moore County.
Yeah, Pinehurst.
Yeah, he is a Randolph guy from Seagrove, still lives down there, coached Little League with our own public works director, David Hutchins. So we're excited to have him. He's fit right in this week.
I met him today. He was up at
Yep.
up at Sadie System.
He has all his levels, electric, HVAC, plumbing, and general construction. So we're glad to have him. He's fit right in. He's a great member of our team. We'll certainly miss Randy, though. We had a great one with Larry. We've had a great one with Randy. So we hope, when we feel confident, Eddie will continue that. I mentioned to Mr. Moffitt before the meeting, even if we wanted to be absorbed into the county, we're the only ones that do building inspection. The other 8 municipalities use the county. there would not be enough manpower in their system to do the 100 ABC permits a year, plus everything else we've got going. So we're excited to have him aboard.
Thank you. I will add to that. We were up at Sadie Systems today for their grand opening. They consolidated two, some of you were there, for those that are not. They've consolidated two manufacturing plants small plants in High Point, about 5 miles apart, into one building here, state of the art. They took the building that Post Holdings owned right beside Post up there on Commerce Place, and totally remodeled it, and it is gorgeous, beautiful, and they additionally moved their corporate headquarters here from Chicago. So, but my point in bringing that up is that they just, every time they said something today, it was positive about the interaction they had with the EDC, our building inspections, our permitting, every interaction they've had with the city of Asheboro, the county of Randolph, and they spent a ton on that building. The CEO of the company been pretty much living here for 5 months, looking after that renovation, and he just couldn't say enough good things about our interactions. Tammy and Randy down in inspections and permitting and the EDC. And you remember we helped them obtain a building reuse grant, and we gave them a small incentive, cash incentive based on projected employment. They are tickled to death. And they don't
tell some of their former neighbors.
Do it.
Tell some of their former neighbors.
Yeah. So they bought 2 buildings up there. They have a small building for their corporate headquarters and the big building for their manufacturing.
Mayor, the last thing I have is, let's issue congratulations to Major Jay Hanson, newly promoted from captain to major. Major Hanson's a great asset in our police department, strong member of our command team. He's run CID, he's run patrol, he's running the special services, the support services. He's done about every job in the police department, and we're proud of you, Jay.
And he's an Appalachian graduate.
He's an Appalachian graduate. Should have looked at the promotion sheet closer.
Okay, I'm gonna wear my mask by him.
So we're proud.
Staff have anything else?
That's all we have for tonight, Mayor.
Ms. Carter, you haven't been here in a while. It's good to have you back. What would you like to contribute to the cause here?
It's good to be back and to see everybody. But I think the most interesting thing about being out has been able to watch it on YouTube. And there's not a reason in the world that the people in the city of Asheboro cannot say that they don't know what's going on with the city council, because it's right there where it can be viewed every time. And it's been interesting.
Can you hear and really understand?
Most of the time. There's been a few times that it would like go in and out.
I'm afraid to watch it.
I will say that the prayer breakfast was really good on there this morning. It showed up really well.
That's good, because yesterday afternoon, we weren't sure that was gonna come together. They were having some difficulties with the metal building and the ability.
Is awful in there.
The ability to transmit that outside of ABS. So yesterday afternoon at 2 o'clock, they were still struggling to make that work.
Well, the guys, was it Central Methodist or
Yeah,
First Methodist?
Randy Lee
Yeah.
and Darwin Smith.
Dean Lale. I mean, that whole group, they really did a great job, because you could see, you could hear.
I'm glad to hear that, because that's another one I did not.
And see, we don't think about that if we're not, if we're on this end.
Yeah.
We're not looking at it. But, you know, if somebody says, well, I never know what's going on, say, well, watch it. It's there for you. It's what COVID produced.
And just a reminder, the agenda is always on the city website. So that they can check the agenda prior to the meeting, they can know when the meeting is, and they can watch the meeting.
I'd say that's pretty open.
Ms. Snopes, it was good to see you first thing this morning at 6:30. So, you got anything?
No, I'm too tired to talk.
Mr. Moffitt.
I've gotten a lot of feedback throughout the day about the mayor prayer breakfast. I regret I was unable to attend due to conflict and about the ribbon cutting as well. But it's wonderful to have these things to talk about again. And I look forward to June and hopeful with the free release. I'm ready to turn these into wiping off my car dash and soap and wax or something.
Okay, just a reminder, while we believe that the hospital deal is on track to be complete, keep your fingers crossed, say a prayer, we cannot do without a hospital. And there's been a lot of hard work put into this, and we can see the light at the end of the tunnel, so let's just hope and pray that it comes together. Ms. Reddy.
I came home from work yesterday to have a street full of police cars and fire and ambulance, and because of medical emergency on the street that lasted a good 4 or 5 hours after the investigation. And I just wanted to say to the police, and I thought I saw Chief Saunders out there, I could hear what was going on, and the police and the fire department were phenomenal and respectful in a very difficult situation. And I really appreciated seeing that in action.
Thank you. Mr. Bell.
Baseball's among us. I remind everybody to go out to McCreary Park, enjoy the Legion and the Copperheads, hopefully this season, that got waylaid last year. And by the time we next meet, they ought to be well into their seasons.
Yep. Mr. Burks.
Really pleased to see Ms. Carter back with us today. That's just it's a bright face, even though it's hidden partially by a mask. We're happy to see you here in person and to actually hear you. Sometimes we couldn't hear you that well on the phone, so we're glad that you're here with us. And my condolences to Jeff Sugg and his family passing of your mother. Very sorry about that. You've been in my prayers.
Mr. Swears.
Just again, I share your pride in the city and the city staff, and hearing the good comments made at the ribbon cutting today, and hearing the good comments from Tom Pappas this evening. You know, we are fortunate to have the city employees that we have, the dedication, the desire to be a service entity. You don't see that much in a municipality, I don't think, but that's what we are.
It starts from the top down.
Yes.
It does. Thank you, John. You did a good job. Okay. We're adjourned.
Jan, how's your daddy doing?
There we go.
Uh-huh.
You can't get, don't go fast too far, Mayor.
Was asking, and
Mary Beth